but it was odd behavior and odd in ways that came at a very bad time for the government. There's been a growing sense, I think, that this government is not what it appears or not what it makes it itself out to be. It is open, transparent, more democratic, different than the others, et cetera. And we've had a series of things, whether it's cutting off debate on parliamentary bills, whether it's rejecting opposition amendments in committee, whether it's the total mishandling of the electoral reform bill, whether it's this latest thing, this government motion to essentially commandeer the workings of Parliament. They've looked both arrogant and at times erratic and incompetent.
It was unbecoming behavior on the part not just of a prime minister, but a parliamentarian. If he'd been the House leader or someone with a position like that, the opposition today would rightly have called on his party to suspend him from those functions, because you just, you know, in all the years that I've covered Parliament, and you too, I've never seen a prime minister do something like this. And in any setting, to physically go to drag someone in the way that this happened would not be acceptable.
And I get Chantel's point that she hasn't seen anything like this happen in the House before, nor have I.
Because there's kind of a resonance between the two houses. The more you arm twist the opposition in the House of Commons, the more the Senate feels legitimate in meddling with government legislation. This is like taking a knife to the bubble and exposing it. It's impossible now to ignore that all is not run as it should be, or as Justin Trudeau promised in the House of Commons.
Yes. We shall see. So not only have they lost a procedural tool, but they've been blooded. They look weak. They don't have the momentum. They don't have that effortless wind at their sails.
And I thought the dashing for the whip of the other party and dragging him was the serious offence. But it is not the same to go after a fellow parliamentarian on the floor of the House of Commons.
Trudeau's behavior is inexplicable. It's very hard to understand. Either he'd just gotten way too accustomed to thinking of himself as being the boss and being in charge, and if there was a problem in Parliament, somehow that was his responsibility to go and sort it out, like a teacher with a bunch of, you know, kids on the front steps of the high school smoking, and he needs to clear the path, kind of thing. And or it was, you know, back to the kind of erratic behavior we used to see from him 2 or 3 years ago, before his handlers kind of cleaned up his act. And neither of those is particularly going to be good for people's sense of who he is. To the extent that people are paying attention to that, it does look very odd.
So there are looming questions about the government's management of the House, and those times when you need to say, I'm the government and I need to get my agenda through, they are now hampered by this incident because they look like the bullies, as opposed to people who are trying to do good while the opposition is trying to block.
You can look like bullies if you look competent, but if you also look amateurish. I mean, we had that business with the vote on C-10, on the Air Canada bill, where they nearly lost the vote by some process. There's this enormous overreaction, or so it appeared the next day, with this draconian motion to sort of take control of the House process. It just looks kind of erratic.